Hi everybody, this is Life Coach Dan Hentschel and welcome to my video subscription series. This first video is going to be about debunking common depression. Okay, I'm going to explain what that is in a minute. Debunking common depression advice. Because I feel like every time that somebody tries to give you advice on being depressed, it's usually a doctor or a psychiatrist or some other kind of medical professional. And no offense, but what the hell would they know about being depressed? They've got good, stable jobs. They make a lot of money. They don't seem to work very long hours because I can never get an appointment with one. So they got it pretty good, if you ask me. First, before we get into that, you obviously heard the very loud explosion sound in the beginning of this video, and that's because in the background, I am playing my anxiety endurance training podcast, which is pretty amazing. It's a podcast that you can put in the background of your daily life, and each episode is an hour of complete silence interrupted by occasional loud noises. And it builds your tolerance to anxiety, similar to kind of like a heroin addict builds a tolerance to heroin because they do so much of it. That's the same exact principle with your anxiety. I've gotten a couple people asking me if it would also work for PTSD, and I'm going to say no because all of the sound effects are quite literally gunshots and bombs. But if you have PTSD and you want to give it a shot, my DMs are open on Instagram at Dan Hentschel. Please let me know how it went. Do the full 100 days of the regimen. And be my little guinea pig, I guess. One more housekeeping thing. I'm really sorry to even bring this up. Obviously, the Holocaust was a terrible tragedy, of course. However, there was one good thing that came from the little mix-up with my book title, because I sold a ton of copies of it because people thought they were buying the original Mein Kampf. At first I thought to myself, I should probably pull this because it's pretty controversial. But then I was like, when normally would somebody with these types of, let's say, political inclinations seek out a self-help book? So this is such a unique opportunity to reach these people. Okay, so that's pretty much everything that I wanted to get out of the way before we got started. Now let's get into the meat and the potatoes of this episode, which is debunking common depression myths. The first myth is you should exercise. Now, I have exercised a bunch of times, and I have not exercised even more times. And what I can tell you about exercise is that in order to like it, you have to enjoy not liking it. And people are like, no, that's why it's so good. It's refreshing, it's reinvigorating. Well, that's really nice and all, but we actually do have a name for that in the field of psychology. It's called masochism, which is a type of sexual mental illness where you derive pleasure from inflicting harm upon yourself. Now, believe me, I am a very strong advocate for BDSM when it is between two consenting adults in private. And the thing about being in a public space that we all know is that people cannot consent in public. So that myth is debunked. Exercise does not help depression. Case closed. Next myth is to eat healthy. This is just one of those things that doctors say because it sounds like something a doctor should say, and doctors have heard other doctors in TV and movies say it. And it's pretty easy to debunk because it's impossible to eat healthy because no food is healthy. Pretty much all food that exists has been genetically modified in some way. My diet recommendation is to stick to larger chain restaurants because they have what's called brand recognition. And so they have a lot to lose if their food is bad. Fruit is just kind of a concept. Nobody's ass is actually on the line if fruit is bad for you. So how would you ever know? Next myth is to do things that you enjoy. Well, you probably don't enjoy anything because you're depressed. So myth busted, I guess. I mean, honestly, if you want my honest opinion, I don't really think there's anything you can do about being depressed, and everybody's just too afraid to say that. The only thing that's going to give you any consolation when you're depressed is that eventually you will die, and it'll all be over. You just will. That's the way that life works. It doesn't matter if you die now versus if you die later, because it's just going to be the same. So you might as well just see what happens. Just see what happens. Who cares? Even if it's only out of morbid curiosity, just see how much worse it could possibly get. So that's my 2 cents. Thanks for watching, and tune in next week. Don't forget to check out my brand new Road Rage Eliminator album, available on Spotify. Each song incorporates car horn honks into the beat, so anybody who actually honks at you in real life just improves your dance party. Thanks again for watching, and have a great day.